Hello everybody, welcome to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, and this is discussion 13, Investments in Equity and Debt Securities. At the end of the video, you should be able to define investments and securities, explain different kinds of equity and debt investments, define and explain investments in associates, and solve accounting problems related to investments. This is your lecturer, Kevin Troy M. Chua. Before anything else, please like, share, and subscribe to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH and hit the notification bell button to alert you of the latest video lessons. For all of your questions, comments, and suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And for webinar and speakership invites, please send me a message at kevintroy.chua1994@gmail.com. Thank you very much for your utmost support for Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, and may these videos continue to help students in their online learning and academic development. May these videos continue to help teachers in enhancing their lesson plans and teaching methodologies. Thank you very much for trusting Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH as your online learning partner. Maraming salamat po. In the last lesson, we discussed intangible assets. You know about what an intangible asset is, and you also know about patents, copyrights, trademarks, and even goodwill. Now we move on to another line item in the non-current asset section of the Statement of Financial Position, which is investments in equity and debt securities. Okay, let's first talk about investments. Investments are assets held by an entity for the accretion of wealth through distribution, such as interest, royalties, dividends, and rentals, for capital appreciation or other benefits to the investing entity, such as those obtained through trading relationships. That's from the International Accounting Standards Board. Basically, the notion of investment is that I will invest in this so that I can get something from it afterwards. Meron tayong hinihintay na return on investment, which can be in the form of interest, royalties, dividends, rentals, or for capital appreciation. So an entity can enter into an investment transaction with the sole purpose of getting something out of it. Parang ganun po, no? But syempre, since the company has paid for that and parang nagkakaroon ng acquisition na transaction, an investment becomes a company's asset, no? Kasi it qualifies din naman dun sa ating definition ng asset, 'di ba? Na talagang there is a probability na merong papasok na future economic benefits, and the cost of the asset can be measured reliably, 'di ba? So investments also forms part of a company's asset. Investments are held for diverse reasons. So, bakit po ba ang isang company ay papasok sa isang investment transaction? Pwede pong for accretion of wealth or regular income na gusto nilang magkaroon ng interest, as with the case of debt investments, di ba? Magtag dito, yung magkakaroon sila ng interest income from that, o di po kaya ay dividend income, and then royalties, and mag-i-invest sila hindi lamang po ng mga equity securities, pwede rin mga investment properties, tas mag-earn ka ng rentals from that. Okay? We also have for capital appreciation, as in the case of investments in land and real estate held for appreciation, and direct investments in gold, diamonds, and other precious commodities. Okay, so basically you can enter investment transactions because you have the reason of capital appreciation. Okay, uso naman yan, no? You want to invest in land or real estate, diba? Oh, that will also be an asset of a company. Pwede rin po yung investments para magkaroon ng ownership control, as in the case of investment in subsidiaries and associates. So, bibili ka ng shares ng ibang company, pwedeng 50% pataas ng ownership, pwedeng 50% pababa. So, later pag-uusapan po natin yan, no? Taking control of another entity. Ayan. Okay? And then, also for meeting business requirements, kaya ka nagkakaroon transactions na mag-acquire ng sinking fund, preference share redemption fund, plant expansion fund, or setting up those other funds na non-current assets. Okay, and for protection, as in the case of interest in life insurance contract in the form of ACSV or cash surrender value. So all of those diverse reasons are the reasons kung bakit ang isang company ay pumapasok sa isang investment transaction. Now, what are securities? According to Robles and Empleo, a security is an interest or share in a debt or equity of another entity. Take note of that phrase. Ang isang security daw po ay interest or share ng alin? Debt or equity ng ibang kumpanya. So, parang ang nangyayari, it will be a debt or equity ng ibang kumpanya asset ko. Okay? Ganito lang kasimple. For example, nagpautang ako, nag-issue ako ng bonds, no? Nag-issue sila ng bonds and a bond, baliktad po, sorry. Nag-issue sila ng bond, 'di ba? So yung instrument na 'yon hawak ko. Okay? So asset ko 'yon, debt investment, sa kanila utang nila 'yon. Okay? O di po kaya equity of another entity. Benentahan nila ako ng shares nila, nag-acquire ako ng shares nila, or parang nagkaroon ako ng investment dun sa company na yon, kumuha ako ng 15% ng shares nila, in-acquire ko yung 15% ng shares nila. That is an equity of another entity, asset ko yon, investment ko yon. Okay? So, yun po yung pwede nating tawaging security, investment in securities. Okay? Ngayon, yung sinasabi ko sa inyong mga instruments na yan, katulad po ng bonds na ini-issue nung umuutang at doon po sa mga shares na yan, ang representation po doon ay tinatawag na financial instrument, which is being dealt on capital markets. Okay? Meron po tayong dalawang uri ng security. Security na related sa equity or security na related sa utang. Equity securities represent ownership interests such as ordinary and preference shares. These also include rights such as warrants, put options, and call options, which gives the holder certain rights to acquire or dispose of any ownership interest at an agreed or determinable price. Basically, the best way to explain this equity securities is that shares of other companies. Okay? If you hold shares of other company, you acquire it, at in-issue nila yung shares na yun sa'yo, ayun na yun, di ba? You already have an investment in equity security. But when an entity issues a debt security to you, meron silang utang, ikaw, investment mo yon, nagiging asset mo yon. Okay? These are financial assets that represent the terms of loan between the creditor and the lender. Utang transaction po kasi yon. Okay? These typically include the maturity value, interest rate payments, and maturity date. Now, since that securities are utang, actually, ikaw na merong hawak ng instrument na debt security, ay you can expect yung tinatawag nating interest income. After all, utang kasi yan eh. So, kung ikaw na yung may hawak ng instrument na in-issue nung umutang, edi makaka-expect ka po ng interest income dahil utang po yung transaction na yan. Okay? So, sa side ng company na may hawak ng debt security, asset nila yon. Kaya makaka-receive sila ng interest income associated with that debt security. Pero yung kabilang company na nag-issue ng bonds payable, na nag-issue ng mga instruments na yon, kaya nila in-issue yun kasi kailangan nilang umutang. Okay? So, asset ng company ng yung company na nag-acquire, pero yung umutang, syempre, utang nila yon. Okay? That's how debt securities work. Okay, so let's talk about equity investments. An entity shall recognize a financial asset or a financial liability in its statement of financial position when and only when the entity becomes a party to the contractual provisions of the instrument. Okay, so both of those entities needs to become they are party to the contractual provisions of the instrument. These financial instruments shall be measured at fair value. All financial instruments at fair value through profit or loss, or at fair value plus transaction cost, as with the cases of financial instruments at amortized cost, at lahat po ng financial instruments or financial assets at fair value through OCI or other comprehensive income. Okay? So later, i-discuss natin yung difference nung initially measured at fair value at saka initially measured at fair value kasama yung transaction cost. Okay, so financial assets at fair value to profit or loss are investments that are measured at initial recognition and every reporting date at fair value. Take note of that ha. Ang initial measurement, ang initial recognition natin ng financial assets at fair value through profit or loss is kung magkano po yung acquisition niya. Okay? Measured at initial recognition base sa yung kung magkano siya na-acquire. But, every reporting period po ay ang kanyang subsequent recognition fair value. Now, at initial recognition, hindi po kasama ang transaction cost and siya po ay dinediretso as expense. So, basically, the acquisition cost of a financial asset at fair value to profit or loss will be capitalized as an asset, but the transaction cost at initial recognition, best example, brokerage fees or broker fees, hindi po kasama yon. So, yung mga ganong related expenses po, dinediretso po natin as expense. As opposed po with financial assets at fair value through OCI, pareho po, magkasama. The purchase price, the acquisition cost itself, add mo rin po lahat ng directly attributable transaction cost. Siya po ang ating magkasama, i-add mo yan dalawa, capitalizable as an asset. At initial recognition, yan po ang magiging measurement mo kung fair value through OCI naman siya. Okay, now let's move on to investment in associate. According to IAS 28, Investments in Associates and Joint Ventures, an associate is an entity over which the investor has significant influence. So let's say, for example, we have Company A and Company B. Company A purchased equivalent to 20% of the outstanding shares of Company B. Okay? So, yung significant influence po na yon is sometimes represented by the number of shares na nabili natin dun sa company na yun or na-acquire natin. Basically, in the standard, it's 20%. Okay? If an entity holds directly or indirectly 20% or more of the voting power of the investee, basically, the voting power is represented by the outstanding shares kasi. Okay? Outstanding ordinary shares to be exact. It is presumed that the entity has significant influence unless it is or it can be clearly demonstrated that this is not the case. Conversely, if the entity holds less than 20% of the voting power, it is presumed that the entity does not have significant influence unless may clear demonstration na less than 20% pero merong significant influence. A substantial or majority ownership by another investor does not necessarily preclude an entity from having significant influence. In its basic sense, significant influence is represented by 20%. However, if there are indicators that it is not significant influence or if it's lesser than 20% but the entity exercises significant influence from that company, then it can also be tagged as an investment in associate. Okay? Eh ano po ba yung significant influence? Masasabi daw po natin na meron significant influence kung merong representation on the board of directors or equivalent governing body of the investee. Si Company A ay nagkakaroon ng representation sa BOD at sa corporate governance ni Company B. Okay? And then participation in policy-making processes, including participation in decisions about dividends and other distributions. There are also material transactions between the entity and the other company. Interchange of managerial personnel. So, ganun sila ka-close. Pwedeng magpalit-palit ng corporate directors, so on and so forth. And provision of essential technical information, things that you don't say to the public or to your competitors. Okay, so if you also provide them essential technical information that is not available to the public or it is something like a trade secret and ayun po, so baka po meron talagang significant influence. So those are the indicators of significant influence. An entity with significant influence over another entity shall account for its investment in associate using the equity method. Later in the problems, we will be discussing ano po ba yung sinasabi nating equity method. How about debt securities? Debt securities are securities issued by a company and sold to an investor. Remember, issued by a company, binibenta natin sa investor. Yung investor na yon, ang ine-expect niya ay merong future return. Kaya nga po, yung company na merong hawak na debt security ng ibang company, siya ang makaka-receive ng interest income galing dun sa debt securities na yon. Ngayon, remember, yung mga securities na yan, ini-issue ng company na umuutang, binebenta sa investor. So, sino po ang nag-i-issue ng debt securities? Yung company umuutang. Sino ang bumibili ng debt securities? Yung investor. Sino ngayon ang magre-record ng investment in debt securities bilang isang asset? Siyempre, yung bumiling investor. Dahil ang expectation niya ay magkaroon siya ng future return. And what is the future return from that? Pwedeng yung mismong interest income coming from that investment. These have a maturity date and maturity value. Ano po yung different examples ng debt securities? Corporate bonds. Merong umuutang, nag-issue siya ng bonds. Merong bumiling investor ng mga debt securities. Ganun. Okay, treasury bills of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, government securities, commercial papers, and preference shares with mandatory redemption date or are redeemable at the option of the holder. So, redeemable preference shares are also part of that. Okay, an entity shall classify financial assets as subsequently measured at amortized cost, fair value through OCI, or fair value through P&L. Depende sa mga sumusunod. And, okay, financial assets shall be measured at amortized cost if the financial asset is held within a business model whose objective is to hold financial assets in order to collect contractual cash flows. And the contractual terms of the financial assets give rise to specified dates to cash flows that are solely payments of principal and interest on the principal amount outstanding. Familiar ba yung words? Nagbabayad ka ng, ano yung marireceive mo daw? The company is to receive what? Okay, the contractual terms of the financial asset give rise on specified dates to cash flow. Merong ine-expect na cash flow. Ano yung ine-expect natin cash flow? Payments of principal and interest. Diba? Sounds like utang, diba? Ayun. So, kapag ka daw po ganito ang ating conditions na na-meet, you can measure it at amortized cost. Kung di man amortized cost, baka through OCI. Okay? The financial asset is held within a business model whose objective is achieved by both collecting contractual cash flows and selling financial assets. Okay? And the contractual terms of the financial asset give rise on specified dates to cash flows that are solely payments of principal and interest on principal amount outstanding. So, ang tanong, lahat po ba ng debt security na naka-measure at OCI, pwede rin po siyang i-amortize? Pwede rin naman kasi nakalagay sa letter B na pwede mo ring i-record as OCI or fair value through OCI even if there are payments of principal and interest. Sounds like utang pa din. May amortization table. Okay? And then we also have fair value through P&L. Okay? Medyo malayo pag P&L. The financial instrument itself is a derivative financial asset and the company designates the financial asset. Sila mismo yung nagdesisyon, okay, that the financial asset is at FVPL. Okay, let's discuss some problems relating to the theories that we have discussed so far. Problem number 1 is financial assets at fair value through profit and loss. On January 1, 2019, Carla Company acquired 5,000 shares of 40 pesos par value ordinary shares of Frances Company. So, sino po ang investor dito? Si Carla Company kasi siya yung bumili ng shares. Sino po ang investee? Sino yung binalan niya ng shares? Frances Company. Basically, kumuha siya ng 5,000 shares for Frances na 40 pesos ang par value, 65 niya binayaran isa. Okay? Broker's commission is 5,000. The shares are to be held at FVPL. At the end of the reporting period, the fair value shoots up to 80 pesos. Number 1 is prepare the journal entries in the books of Carla and magkano po ang unrealized gain sa lahat ng pangyayaring yan. O, ganito lang po gagawin natin. We debit investment in Frances Company on the books of Carla for 5,000 multiplied by the amount of 65 per share. Yan po yung amount na nabili niya. So, 325,000. And then, ihihiwalay po natin sa broker's fees na 5,000 kasi nga po, kapag ka at profit or loss, ini-expense po natin ang directly attributable cost. Then altogether, you pay it credit cash 330,000. Now, at the end of the year, nag-shoot up daw po yung fair value kada share to 80 pesos. So, you need to adjust that. Okay? So, 5,000 shares times 80 is 400,000. But you initially measured it only at 65 pesos, which is 325,000. You will record an unrealized gain of 75,000. Okay? So, dapat po ang mangyari is from 325,000 maging 400,000 yung T account natin ng investment in Frances Company. So you will do this entry. Debit investment in Frances Company 75,000 and then unrealized gain on FVPL which is 75,000. Any increase or decrease in fair value will be reported either as unrealized gain or unrealized loss. Kailan tayo nagkakaroon ng realized gain or realized loss? Pag nagkakaroon po ng sales transaction, pag binebenta natin diretso. How about FVOCI? Same problem, but the shares are to be held as FVOCI, but the same problem. So, let's go to the entries and how much will be reported as unrealized gain by Carla. Okay, as opposed sa kanina na through profit or loss, ito through OCI. Pag through OCI, magkasama ang acquisition cost or purchase price at saka directly attributable cost as capitalizable assets. So, diretso po, investment in Frances Company, 330,000, credit cash, 330,000. Okay. Now, in the measurement of your unrealized gain at the end of the year, medyo may konting twist na ngayon. Ganun pa rin naman, 5,000 times 80, 400,000. However, since your broker's fees are also included as capitalized cost of the asset na 330,000, that will be your comparison. So, from 330,000, umangat or nag-shoot up ng 400,000 yung fair value. Your unrealized gain is, imbes na 75 kanina, 70,000 lang siya ngayon. Okay, let's have problem number 3. During 2019, Salonga Company purchased trading securities with the following cost and market value. So, meron siyang different trading securities, A, B, and C, isang 1,000, 10,000, and 20,000 shares. Ito po ang cost, yung acquisition niya, and then market value at the end of the year. Tapos, ay, 2018 ito, okay? 2018 to kasi binenta siya ng 2019. Edit natin mga kapatid. Sorry. Ayan. During 2018, tapos the fair value on 2018. Ayan. Okay. Ulit. Ayan. So, 2018 na tayo kasi binenta noong 2019. Nalito sa year. Sorry. Okay. So, pagdating daw po ng January 15, binenta yung 10,000 shares ng Security B for 150. Okay. So, realized gain at saka loss on sale of trading investment. Okay. For number 1, ang tanong sa inyo is the unrealized gain or loss that will be reported in the income statement for 2018. You simply compare the cost and the market value at the end of 2018. 200, umangat ang 300, positive 100,000. Unrealized gain. 17, bumaba ng 16, negative 100,000. 31, bumaba ng 29, negative 200,000. Get the aggregate, unrealized loss is negative 200,000. Paano naman yung 10,000 shares na binenta noong January 15? Now, remember, the accounting records will be adjusted up or down depende kung tumaas or bumaba yung market value. As with the case of A, tumaas yung market value niya to 300,000. Si B, ang carrying amount niya na is yung mismong market value na binaba, which is 1.6. And si C naman, bumaba ng 2.9. Ngayon, si letter B daw po kasi is binenta noong January 15 for 150 pesos per share. Try natin ngayon. If the selling price is 150 per share, 1,500,000. Now, at that time na binenta mo siya noong January 15, it was already carried forward to the next year from 2018 going to 2019 is 1,600,000 na lang siya. Okay? So, nung binenta natin, nagkaroon tayo ng loss on sale of trading investment na 100,000. Hindi siya unrealized loss ha. Yan po ay diretsong loss na na-realize. Bakit na-realize na? Nagkaroon na po kasi ng sales transaction. Okay? Binenta na po yung mismong shares. So, pagtaas baba lang ng market value, unrealized gain or loss pa yun. Hindi naman natin ginagalaw, tumataas baba lang yung value nila eh. But the time na binenta na natin yung mga trading investment, that's the time that we will be recording realized gain or realized loss. As in talagang legit na yung gain or loss niya kasi nagkaroon na ng sales transaction. Parang ganun ang sistema. Okay, for problem 4 naman po, investment in associate. On January 1, 2019, Juni Company acquired 20% interest in Junjun Company for 5 million. So, the acquisition cost is 5 million. And then, yung pinag-investan ni Juni Company na si Junjun Company ay nag-report daw po ng 4 million and nagkaroon ng 4 million, na net income and nagbayad ng dividends sa shareholders na 3 million. The question is, number 1, magkano mo i-record yung investment ni Juni Company nung binili niya yung 20% ni Junjun Company? And then, dahil meron siyang 20% interest kay Junjun Company, magkano ang share niya dun sa net income? At nung nagpamigay si Junjun Company ng dividends, meron bang mangyari kay Juni Company doon? And syempre, carrying amount ng investment at December 31, 2019. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na gagamitan nyo ng tinatawag nating equity method. Okay, so this is how we do it. Tiyanan! Actually, yan na yung sagot, pero isa-isahin natin. Number 1, how much is the initial measurement of the investment? E di yung purchase price, yun yung acquisition cost, yun na yun. 5 million. How much is the share of Juni Company sa kinita ni Junjun Company? So, the net income of 4 million, you simply multiply it by 20%, you have 800,000. Okay? And then, less share in dividends. So, nagpamigay daw po si Junjun Company ng dividends na 3 million. You get the 20% of that minus 600,000. Sir, bakit po pa minus yung dividends? Eh, di ba naka-receive nga ng dividends from Junjun going to Juni Company? Okay, ganito po yan. Remember that you already acquired 20% interest in Junjun Company, which means that you own 20% of the company. Parang ang dating, you cannot give a dividend to yourself, di ba, on that certain 20%. So, yung dividends pong yan ay minaminus natin. Hindi siya i-record as dividend income. Kasi, the share in dividends on the setup of investment in associate, parang nagiging return of investment siya, hindi siya dividend income. Kaya kung i-entryhan nyo siya, you debit investment in associate for 5 million and credit cash for 5 million for the initial acquisition that you did. Now, you debit again investment in associate on the net income share of the associate, but you debit cash on the dividends that you receive, but you credit it to investment in associate. Kasi po, yung dividends na yan, yung share in dividends na yan ay return of investment mo yan. Kaya hindi mo siya i-record na dividend income. Although, in reality, dahil meron kang 20% ownership kay Junjun Company, ang dating may hawak ka pa rin namang shares kay Junjun Company, ay di makaka-receive ka pa rin ng dividends. In essence, magde-debit ka pa rin ng cash, no? Pero kung titignan mo mismo yung 20%, parang pagmamay-ari mo yun, 20% ng company yun eh. So parang ikaw din yun, di ba? So it's a return of investment. It is not a dividend income. Okay? Naka-receive ka man ng cash, it is a return on investment. Okay, so the last question, how much is the carrying amount of the investment at December 31, 2019? The answer is 5,200,000. So, paano po ginagawa yung equity method? investment in associate at the beginning of the year, add net income of the associate na share natin doon, so kung ilang percent man yun, and then deduct po natin yung share in dividends na dineclare at binayaran ni associate. And that is your ending balance of investment in associate. Okay, lagi nyo tatandaan doon sa dividends, parang lagi nyo iisipin doon. Pag mamayari ko yung 20% ng company, so parang ako rin yun. Parang ang dating, parang bibigyan ko lang din naman yung dividend yung sarili ko. Di ba? Parang ang awkward. Pero in reality, Junjun Company paid you actually dividends worth 600,000. So it's not a dividend income anymore. Okay? It becomes a return of your investment. Kaya nagiging credit to investment in associate, 600,000. Let's have another problem on investment in associate. Okay? What if kasi nakita nyo kanina, in-acquire beginning of the year. Paano naman kung April 1 yung naging acquisition natin? Same given, pero April 1. Ganito ang magiging computation natin. Okay? The acquired investment would still be 5 million. But remember the difference in the share in net income of the associate. Remember, ang lagi nating sistema sa net income as if it is being earned evenly throughout the year. Diba? Kaya i-multiply mo siya sa 9/12. Bakit 9/12? April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. And that's 9 months. Okay? So, dun sa share in net income, i-multiply mo siya sa proportionate kung ilang buwan, which is 9/12, which is only 600,000. Sir, bakit yung dividends hindi minultiply sa 9/12? Kasi ganito po ang sistema natin sa dividends. Once maging associate mo siya, no? At biglang nag-declare ng dividends, wala na. Yun na yung dineclare na dividends eh. Ang dividends naman po, hindi naman yan declared and paid evenly throughout the year eh. Para i-multiply mo dun sa fraction of time. Hindi naman siya ganon. The moment na naging associate mo siya at tiyempo, bigla siyang nag-declare ng dividends, damay ka na dun sa buong amount ng dividends, multiply mo na lang yung percentage of ownership na meron ka. So, the answer for this problem will also be 5 million. Okay, another problem on investment in associates. So, medyo i-level up natin. On January 1, 2019, Mommy Company purchased 25,000 shares of Daddy Company's 100,000 outstanding ordinary shares for 5 million. The carrying amount of the net assets of Daddy Company is 16 million. Daddy Company's machinery at carrying value is 1 million pero may fair value na 3,400,000, while Daddy Company's building has a carrying value of 5 million and a fair value of 6,600,000. The remaining useful life of the machinery is 5 years and 10 years for the building. During the year, Daddy reported net income of 7 million and paid cash dividend of 1 million. Sagutin po natin yung mga tanong isa-isa. Number 1, at what percentage will the ownership in Daddy Company best represented? So, kung nag-purchase ng 25,000 shares, galing po dun sa 100,000 ordinary shares na meron. Sorry po, 100,000 yan. Sobra ng zero. Okay? That is 25% ownership. Since wala naman sinabi sa problem na i-check natin kung may significant influence o wala, doon na tayo sa percentage magre-rely. Malamang may significant influence kasi 20% and above. Okay? Pero kapag ka po 50% and above, control na po yun. Okay? Pag control, nagiging hindi na siya associate, subsidiary mo na siya. Okay? At yan po ay pag-aaralan nyo sa Advanced Financial Accounting and Reporting. Okay, number 2, how much is the excess of cost over the carrying amount of the net assets acquired? Ganito po gagawin natin dyan. Yung in-acquire daw po nating company, ang net assets niya ay 16 million. Okay? Pag sinabing net assets, assets minus liabilities. Okay? Now, ang percentage of ownership na kinuha natin is 25%. Okay? So, our proportion on the net assets acquired is 4 million. However, ang binaya daw po ng company to get that 25% is 5 million. However, parang ang dating, binayaran ng company, ni Mommy Company, yung 25% ng 5 million na dapat 4 million lang siya. Okay, so nagkakaroon tayo ng excess of cost over carrying value na 1 million. Anong gagawin natin dyan? check muna natin kung totoo yung 1 million na yan. Parang ganito. Di ba sabi sa problem, ang fair value daw po ng machinery is 3,400,000 but the carrying value is only 1 million. If the excess is 2,400,000 and the company acquired 25% of that, the proportionate excess would be 600,000. Same case with the building, which is 6,600,000. Compare it with the carrying value of 5 million, there is an excess of 1,600,000. Get the 25% and the proportionate excess for the building is 400,000. Pag add-in nyo po si 600,000 and 400,000, pareho lang po tayo na makukuhang excess of cost over carrying value na 1 million. Ngayon, dyan sa investment mong yan, magkano ang investment income mo dyan? Kukunin mo pa rin naman po yung 25% ng net income ng associate mo, which is 7 million times 25%. But remember, meron tayong proportionate excess ng cost over yung net assets natin, di ba? Ang nakuha natin sa machinery, 600,000. Remaining useful life, depreciate mo lang for 5 years remaining, negative 120,000. And then for the building, 400,000 divided by 10, negative 40,000. Okay, so perform the calculation. The investment income is 1,590,000. Now, for number 4, magkano yung carrying amount na investment? Eh di kung in-acquire mo siya ng 5 million and the share in net income is 1,590,000, deduct mo na po yung share in dividends. Kasi nga, a share in dividends, although received by the company in cash, it is not a dividend income because it is what we call a return of investment. So you simply multiply your 1 million to 25%. That's negative 250,000 kasi pabawas siya dahil return of investment nga. So, add nyo lang po and perform the calculation. The ending balance is 6,340,000. Doon naman po tayo sa problem number 6, amortized cost. On January 1, 2019, Ming Ming Company acquired a bond investment from Wiseo Company for 1,079,854, a price to yield 8% interest payable annually every December 31 for 5 years. The instrument daw po na na-acquire ni Ming Ming Company from Wiseo Company, ang face value ay 1 million and then unstated interest rate is 10%. Ming Ming Company designated the instrument at amortized cost. We have 3 questions to answer. Now, always remember kapag ka po bonds ang transaction natin, if the stated interest rate is greater than the yield or the effective rate, this is a premium situation. Okay? So, gagawa po tayo ng tinatawag nating amortization table para po sagutin yung questions number 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So, you start with creating the headers, which is interest receivable, interest revenue, nung companying bumili nung bond investment, which is Ming Ming Company, and then i-amortize natin yung premium and we compute for the carrying value of the asset at the end of each period. You start with the issue price of 1,079,854. That is your answer for number 1. That's the initial measurement of the debt investment. Okay, where do we get the interest receivable? You simply multiply the face value to the stated interest rate of the bond. So 1 million times 10%, that's 100,000 all throughout the 5 years. However, interest revenue is based on the effective rate of 8%. So what you will do is from the carrying value of the previous year, which is ito naman po, starting point pa lang, 1,079,854, you multiply it by 8%, lalabas po yung 86,388. Now, the difference between your interest receivable and interest revenue will be your amortization of premium, which is 13,612. And then, what you need to do is 1,079,854 minus 13,612. The carrying value of the asset at the end of 2019 is 1,066,242. Now, coming from that amortization table, let's answer number 2. Magkano daw po ang interest revenue on December 31, 2019? The answer is 86,388. How much is the carrying value of the investment on December 31, 2020? Also, coming from the amortization table, the answer is 1,051,542. You know when you did it correctly, when at the end of the amortization, you get the face value. O, di ba madali lang? Okay, let's have problem number 7. Problem number 7 naman po ay, ganun pa din, bond investment from Wisho Company. Ang issue price naman po is 855,809. Although the face value is 1 million. Now look, the stated interest rate naman po ay mas maliit kesa naman po dun sa effective interest rate. Kapag ka po ganyan ang nangyari, this is a discount situation naman po. So gawa lang din po tayo ng ating amortization table. So you multiply 8% to the face value of 1 million. So tigi 80,000 po yan. But your interest revenue is 12% of the previous year's carrying value. So for this problem, 855,809. And then, you multiply it by 12%. So, yun po yung 102,697. The difference between your interest receivable and interest revenue will be your discount amortization. Ngayon naman, this time, i-add mo siya para makarating ka dun sa 1 million. So, 855,809. Ma-add mo po si 22,697, 878,506. So, for question number 1, the answer is 855,809. Magkano po ang interest revenue on December 31, 2019? 102,697. But the carrying value of the investment on December 31, 2020 is 903,927. Okay? Ganito po kasi yan, no? Yung previous year carrying value, you just need to add the discount amortization to get the next year's carrying value. Alternatively, ang ginagawa naman po, and actually the formal presentation in the FS is that kung ano yung face value, is ina-adjust naman po natin sa face value yung unamortized discount. So, mina-minus naman po natin sa face value yung unamortized discount. Okay? Pero pareho lang naman ang kalalabasan yon na fair value. For problem number 8, it's a debt investment but measured at FVOCI. Okay? So, Mingming Company acquired a bond investment from Wisho Company for 1,079,854. The yield is 8% and then interest payable at the end of December 31 for 5 years. The instrument has a face value of 1 million. The stated interest rate is 10%. So, this is what? A premium or a discount situation. This is a premium situation. Mingming Company designated the instrument at fair value through OCI. At the end of 2019, binenta daw po yung bonds for 110. Okay? The bonds were quoted at 110. How much is the gain or loss in the fair value of the debt investment? So, you perform the amortization table until nagkaroon po ng quotation na 110. Okay? So, the carrying value at the end of 2019 is 1,066,242. Okay? So, if the fair value is 1 million, okay, you multiply it by the quote of 1.1. Yan na po yung fair value at the end of the year, 1,100,000. Less the carrying value at the end of 2019, which is 1,066,242. Then the gain in the fair value of the debt investment is 33,758. Okay? So, yun po ang ating lesson. Our next lesson is investment property and other non-current assets. Again, please like, share, and subscribe to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH and hit the notification bell button to alert you of the latest video lessons. For all of your questions, comments, and suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And for webinar and speakership invites, please send me a message at kevintroy.chua1994@gmail.com. This has been Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH College Edition, and we're still at Intermediate Accounting Part 1. To God be all the glory, honor, and praise. Thank you and have a great day. Reach for your dreams. Hiraya Manawari.